The U.S. Department of Defense has released new footage, which it says shows the aerial encounter between a U.S. spy drone and a Russian warplane over the Black Sea. The Pentagon says the fighter jet dumped fuel over the drone and clipped it, forcing it to crash. Moscow denies there was a collision. It comes as NBC News is learning new details about the incident. According to 3 U.S. officials familiar with the intelligence, the highest levels of the Kremlin approved the alleged aggressive action. But speaking on MSNBC yesterday, a spokesperson for the State Department said the incident was most likely an unintentional act.
I think the best assessment right now is that it probably was unintentional. It probably was the result of profound incompetence on the part of one of these Russian pilots. But at the end of the day, Andrea, it's really immaterial. It doesn't really matter, because what matters is what actually happened. A Russian aircraft caused us to down this U.S. unmanned aerial vehicle. That could have created a much larger incident.
NBC News White House correspondent Carol Lee joins us now with more on this. So, Carol, tell us a little bit more about what we are learning and what these U.S. officials have told NBC News.
Well, Ellison, they're saying that this aggressive action over the Black Sea was authorized by the highest levels of the Russian government, including that fuel drop. And what the U.S. officials are telling my colleague Courtney Cubey and I is that that fuel drop seems to be intended to either disable the drone or block it from being able to conduct its surveillance, which is what it was doing. Now, one official tells us that, look, that they are not seeing indications that this went all the way up to Russian President Vladimir Putin. However, other officials that we talked to said wouldn't go that far and just said, look, this is something that was authorized at the highest levels. Now, you can see that video there that the U.S. government has now released shows that fuel drop and this clipping. Now, when it comes to the Russian aircraft clipping the drone, that is something that U.S. officials don't think was intentional, that it's likely that was something that was pilot error. But nonetheless, this is overall harassment of that drone in that space is something that U.S. officials believe was authorized by the highest levels of the Russian government.
Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin and General Mark Milley held rare phone conversations with their Russian counterparts. Do we know exactly what was discussed in that call, anything that came out of it, and what the message is from the Kremlin?
Well, we know that this is rare, as you said, because they haven't spoken in months, either of them. We are hearing from the Russian Foreign Ministry about that call with Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin, and it doesn't sound like they've really reached any sort of conclusion in terms of or agreement on where to go forward from here. The Russian Foreign Ministry is saying that these drones flying in this area near Crimea is provocative, and going on to say that the Russian Federation is not interested in such a development of events, meaning escalation in that region, but that it will continue to respond proportionally to all provocations. And so they see this drone flying in this area as a provocation. The U.S. does not, says these are international airspace, international waters, and they're going to continue to conduct themselves accordingly. But the U.S.'s view on this, and we've heard Secretary Austin say this explicitly, is it's better to be talking than not be talking.
This drone crashed in the Black Sea, which, of course, is closer to Russian territory than it is to U.S. territory. Do we have any sense at this point of who has recovered what is left of that drone?
We have a little bit of a sense of who's there, and that is the Russians. According to U.S. officials we talked to, the Russians were very quickly there with ships and aircraft. It's not clear, though, exactly what they're going to find. This is a drone that crashed into the sea, and it's in very deep waters. And the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Mark Milley, he addressed this yesterday in his press conference. Take a listen.
Probably about maybe 4,000 or 5,000 feet of water, something like that. So any recovery operation is very difficult at that depth by anyone. It probably broke up. There's probably not a lot to recover, frankly. As far as the loss of anything of sensitive intelligence, etc., as normal, we would take, and we did, take mitigating measures.
Now, one U.S. official tells us, Ellison, that while the Russians may be there, that it's not clear to them that they've actually recovered anything. And as you heard General Milley say there, that there's not a lot of expectation from the U.S. that they would actually find something sensitive.
Okay, all right, Carol Lee, thank you so much.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.